We have recently participated in a special exploration mission in Assassin's Creed Shadows that got us to find a cat island in the game, along with exploring the huge city of Kyoto and its surroundings with a lot of activities and landmarks to check out. So thanks to Ubisoft today, we have a lot of new exclusive gameplay that we can share with you all ahead of the review embargo. So let's not wait any longer and let's dive into this fresh look at Assassin's Creed Shadows. So, a few days ago, Ubisoft came to us and a limited number of other creators in the world to propose a special exploration mission, a challenge if you will. The dev team would hand us a specific save file of Assassin's Creed Shadows separated from the one we are reviewing the game on and told us, we are dropping you near Kyoto in the Yamashiro region of the game. Can you explore the area and find and do all of these things and eventually reach the mysterious Okishima Island on Lake Biwa within 19 minutes? And spoiler alert, I failed. Not knowing where all the locations for these landmarks and activities were made it kinda tough to find them all, but I did manage to do 14 out of the 16 activities, and in between I did get to explore a lot of the region, so let's have a look at everything I was able to find. I'm going to provide some brief commentary on each of the activities so you can have a better idea about how they work, but also how these activities and landmarks feel in the game. And just to clarify, all the footage you are seeing in this video comes from this trial, and we are playing on PC on the GeForce Now platform that allows us to play the game remotely using a GeForce RTX 4080 graphics card playing at 1440p downscaled by GeForce Now at 1080p with 60 FPS. So let's start with the complete a castle task. There are more than 30 castles in the game, and completing them basically involves looking within them for the so-called samurai daisho tougher enemies. Their number might change based on the size of the castle, so you have to find them and kill them, and once you've eliminated them all, that unlocks a dedicated big chest that you have to find and open in order to obtain a legendary item. Usually castles have a tenshu, that is the tallest building of the compound, and more often than not only the chest is located in there, but the top of the tenshu also acts as a sync point. So what I did try to do in the mission was to try and find the Sakamoto Castle and the Nijo Palace in Kyoto, eliminate their samurai daisho, loot their bodies, never forget that, there's a lot of interesting loot in there, get the chests, and sync the viewpoint to clear 5 tasks from the table at the same time. The second activity required in the table was complete a shrine, where shrines in the game are different from temples in that instead of looking for the lost pages, which we'll see later, you will have to look for the various shrines within the location, and you will need to use observation mode to identify them as the white dots within the location, and once you find them, you'll have to pray at each of them. This is one of those non-violent activities that grant you a knowledge point, and once you have enough of those, more skills and abilities will be made available for you to unlock. In the area surrounding Kyoto, I was able to find one of the various mounted archery trials that are scattered across Japan. This is an activity that can only be performed by Yasuke, and the trials I've seen both here and in my gameplay session at Ubisoft Quebec don't seem to be that hard, especially if you have some kind of aim assist turned on, which I think was the case for this mission, so I feel it's going to be relatively easy to complete these in order to obtain new horse cosmetics and especially knowledge points. Next to the Seta Bridge, which we're also going to see later, I was able to find the chance to perform a Sumi-e painting. That is an activity that requires you to stealthily get close to animals in the world without scaring them in order to portray what they're doing with the traditional Sumi-e style. Performing a Sumi-e painting will grant you a wall decoration for your hideout featuring the painting that you just did, and also a page in your codex both about the animal and about the drawing itself. Another activity requested in a challenge was a Kuji-kiri meditation that I found east of Kyoto, and as you might know at this point, Kuji-kiris are minigames that require you to input buttons following a repeated rhythm. It's an activity that can only be done by Naoe that will also deal with her past and background, and when completed, it will grant players with an additional knowledge point. This one was more complicated than the one I tested back in Quebec, as at times it required to press or hold more than one button at the same time, so you can expect an increased difficulty of this activity as you progress in the game. Before we move on with more exclusive gameplay and details about our mission, I wanted to take a moment to extend a heartfelt thank you to our Access the Animals insiders and initiates for their amazing support day in and day out. You guys are true legends and we're so very grateful for it. And if you haven't joined us yet and you'd like to become a member on the channel and gain access to a number of exclusive perks, including early access to videos and special content, exclusive reports and interviews or Q&As on events that we have participated in, which we manage on a dedicated channel on our Discord server, you can do that by clicking the join button underneath this video. So the next task on the table was stand on Setup Bridge, with Setup Bridge being one of the famous landmarks of this time period. As we mentioned some time ago in one of our previous videos, the Setup Bridge was one of the so-called 3 famous bridges of Japan that was considered an important strategic position for transportation and military movements towards Kyoto and was originally designed by Oda Nobunaga himself. The next task, according to the table, would have been finding out Sakamoto Castle, as we mentioned earlier, but considering it was so very close to the mysterious island, I kept it third to last, so we're going to discuss this later. Next up, we have complete scrolls in a temple, which is a simple activity of finding the so-called lost scrolls or lost pages in a temple, in this case Shokokuji Temple in Kyoto, and it's usually a simple task, as in, much like for shrines, once you activate observation mode, you will be able to spot the white dots around you pointing to the scrolls. Finding all the scrolls or lost pages in a temple will earn you a knowledge point, much like most of the other non-violent activities in the game. Next we have Sync a Cultural Codex, and Cultural Codex entries are really the historical / educational / database part of the game, where similarly to Assassin's Creed Mirage, you can find these data spheres floating in the world next to monuments and landmarks. You sync them and then a new entry is added to your codex menu for you to read. So like I said, towards the end of my 90 minutes, I climbed to the top of Sakamoto Castle, synchronized the viewpoint and then did my leap of faith, and quite interestingly, there was a boat right there where I landed, and indeed the second to last task was take the boat, which I assume was this one indeed, and not any of the other and bigger boats on the lake that you can jump on to hitch a ride. So one look at the map and the only major island in Lake Biwa was this one. This was going to be Okishima Island, and that's where I decided to go with my boat with 15 minutes left, and it was quite the long journey, so much so that the sun rose at dawn with a spectacular view no less. So I did land on the targeted island, and sure enough it was Okishima, and I did start to explore it a bit, and soon enough I unraveled the supposed mystery of this almost uninhabited island, and that is, it's a cat island. It's an island full of cats and kittens, much as it happened in almost all of the recent Assassin's Creed games, where you can find different types of cats, and if you pet them, they'll become available in your hideout to place wherever you'd like. It's definitely an island of fishermen, which I guess justifies the sheer number of cats, and well, yeah, there's not so much to do gameplay wise in the island other than sync a viewpoint in there, maybe take some pictures of these cats and whatnot. So that was it for our mission. 14 out of the 16 activities were completed, while 2 were not. The first one being discovering Byodin Temple, which I wasn't able to find on the map, and the second one being completing a kata training activity, which, as we discussed on the channel already, is an activity for Yasuke where you press or hold buttons shown on screen portraying specific weapon combos that you can then actually use in the game. So there you have it, that was our mission with some quite exclusive gameplay and a look at Kyoto and the surrounding landmarks and activities, but there is still so much more to discuss about Assassin's Creed Shadows as we draw near the release of the game and the reviews that are going to come out on March the 18th. But if you can't wait till that and you want to know more about the game, we got you covered with our latest video focused on the progression aspect of the game. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in our next video.